Racist doctor rejects black patient, discover the life-changing lesson he learned 24 hours later. Dr. James Waller stood at the front desk of his clinic with an air of authority mixed with expectation. He wore a lab coat proudly, but that day, it felt heavy on his shoulders. When a young black father named Marcus rushed in, desperation etched across his face, Dr. Waller barely raised an eyebrow. He listened, but his mind was clouded by unacknowledged biases. "My son needs help," Marcus pleaded, eyes wide with fear. But Dr. Waller's pride seized him. He waved Marcus away. "I can't see you right now," he said, dismissing the man's undeniable pain. This moment was more than just a mistake. It echoed the very racial stigmas that plagued their small community of Maplewood. As Marcus stepped out, anguish twisting his features, his wife, Tasha, caught his eye. She was a fierce advocate for their community, always ready to uplift voices that too often remained silent. Tasha felt the ache in Marcus's heart and rushed to him, gathering their friends and family around them. Fueled by the injustice they just witnessed, they organized a rally for fairness in healthcare. Stories of prejudice were shared, tales of strength and resilience that resonated deeply. They spoke of love and family, not just ideals, but lived experiences that tied them together. In that moment of solidarity, they reclaimed their dignity, standing strong against the painful realities of their lives. Meanwhile, back at home, Dr. Waller's teenage son, Ben, was pacing the living room, his favorite football jersey snug on his frame. "Dad, why would you do that?" he asked, hurt clearly visible on his face. Ben idolized Marcus for his strength on the field and his kind heart off it. "You just turned him away. He was begging for help." The conversation escalated, tensions rising, forcing Dr. Waller to confront the uncomfortable truth of his deep-seated biases and the chasm that had grown between him and the very community he served. The following day, tension simmered at a local festival, a time typically filled with laughter and celebration. As festivities unfolded, chaos suddenly erupted. A medical emergency struck. Tension gripped the crowd. Dr. Waller felt the dull thud of panic as he rushed toward the commotion, only to find Marcus stepping forward, training kicking in. "Step aside, I can help," Marcus shouted, confidence and urgency intertwined in his voice. In that heartbeat, everything changed. Dr. Waller was now confronted by his own limitations, the very biases he had clung to. Marcus, the man he had turned away, stood ready to save a life. The crowd fell into silence, the weight of the moment palpable. Eyes shifted between them. Both men now faced a moral crossroads. Would Dr. Waller surrender his pride and work alongside Marcus? Would he finally see the man, not the stereotype? "Help me, James," Marcus urged, a blend of professionalism and vulnerability. The air thickened, anticipation hanging like thick fog. The echo of community voices surged in the backdrop, demanding accountability as his heart raced. How would Dr. Waller respond when confronted not just by Marcus's plea, but by the very values of dignity, respect, and equitable care? The silence between them stretched like a taut wire. Dr. Waller's heart hammered in his chest as he caught Marcus's gaze. In that instant, he saw not just a man but a father, a neighbor, and a human being who deserved compassion and respect. The crowd waited, breaths held, waiting for a decision that could change everything. "Okay," Dr. Waller finally said, his voice a mix of uncertainty and resolve. He stepped aside, heart pounding, and joined Marcus at the front of the crowd. Together, they had a chance to make a difference. As the noise around them started to merge into a thrumming pulse, the urgency of the situation pushed them forward, side by side. "I need an AED," Marcus barked, shifting into focus, his hands steady even as chaos surrounded them. Waller felt awash in the intensity of the moment. A few spectators rushed to fetch the defibrillator, but the sight of Marcus in command was grounding. Maybe he had misjudged him. As they worked together, Dr. Waller started to view Marcus through fresh eyes. He watched how he transformed from a desperate father to an experienced responder, assessing the patient and directing the onlookers. The crowd responded to Marcus's confidence, and Dr. Waller felt a shift within himself, a rumble of recognition blossoming in his heart. They worked in tandem, rhythmically and with urgency. Dr. Waller felt his hands shake slightly, not from fear but from an awakening. Every time he looked at Marcus, he remembered the family he had dismissed, the pain he had caused and the restraint he had unfurled in that moment. He was no longer just a doctor to the crowd, he was a man learning to be better. With the AED in hand, speculation filled the air. Would it be enough? Would they save the life that hung in the balance? As they placed the pads on the patient's chest, Dr. Waller recalled the faces of his son, of Marcus, and their community. Clear! Marcus shouted, as they prepared to deliver the shock. The moment stretched into infinity, the crowd's anticipation palpable, hearts collectively pounding in unison. The shock jolted through the patient's body, and a heartbeat returned faint but steady. Excitement erupted from the crowd, a collective sigh of relief mixed with disbelief. Dr. Waller met Marcus's gaze, eyes glistening with an unspoken connection forged in that harrowing moment, but as the adrenaline faded, the flash of clarity punctured a deeper awareness. The work wasn't done. Helping this one patient saved lives, but what about the systemic issues back at the clinic? What about the biases still lurking in his own heart? Dr. Waller knew now that this was just the beginning. Later that evening, while the festival resumed with music and laughter filling the air, Marcus approached Dr. Waller, now more than a colleague but an ally. "We need to keep this conversation going," he said, the fire in his voice unwavering. "Your clinic can change lives, James, if we work together." Dr. Waller nodded, the weight of the day settling around him like a cloak. "You're right, Marcus. I want to be a part of that change." As they made plans to advocate for better healthcare access, a seed of hope sprouted within Dr. Waller. But as new possibilities danced between them, a chilling thought surfaced: how many more like him needed to break free from their biases? It was clear the battle for justice had just begun, and as the night deepened, so did Dr. Waller's commitment. What other truths lay hidden within their community, waiting to be discovered? How could he make sure he wasn't just reacting to the moment, but actively creating a future of equality and respect? The next morning, Dr. Waller woke to the sound of birds chirping and the persistent sunlight filtering through his window. It was a brand new day, yet an uncomfortable heaviness lingered in his chest. The festival had been a mix of chaos and triumph, but the images of the night before kept replaying in his mind. He tossed the covers aside, feeling a sense of urgency push him out of bed. He had to get to the clinic early. Arriving at the clinic, he found it buzzing with activity. Nurses and administrative staff moved swiftly, answering phones and welcoming patients. But Dr. Waller felt out of sync, as if he was trapped in a fog while the world around him rushed ahead. He stepped into his office, trying to gather his thoughts turned to Marcus. The connection they had formed during the emergency felt significant, but it also felt daunting. Marcus had opened a door to possibilities. Now, Dr. Waller had to step through it. He removed a notepad from his desk, jotting down a list of small but vital changes he wanted to implement: cultural competency training for staff, evening workshops on diversity for the community, an open-door policy for feedback. It all felt like a good start, yet part of him feared it wouldn't be enough. "What is going on, Doc?" A familiar voice broke his concentration. It was Sarah, one of his longtime nurses. Her eyebrows knitted with concern. "You look like you've seen a ghost." "It's just a lot on my mind," he confessed, rubbing the back of his neck. "I think I need to make some changes around here." "Good changes, I hope." She smiled knowingly, her eyes sparkling. "Talk to me. We're a team." Taking a deep breath, Dr. Waller shared his thoughts about the training and workshops. Sarah listened intently, her expression shifting from curiosity to validation. "I'm on board, document. I've seen so many patients ignored simply because of biases. We can help change that." A feeling of warmth spread through him. For the first time in ages, he felt a flicker of hope. But before he could fully embrace it, a loud knock interrupted them. The door swung open, and a patient was ushered in, a young black mother with a small child. Her anxious eyes scanned the room, her body coiled with the weight of worry. "Hello, Ma. Dr. Waller greeted, forcing a smile. "How can I help you today?" She hesitated, biting her lip. "I'm here for a checkup. I heard your clinic can be tough for people like us." Her voice trembled, and an unshakable feeling of recognition washed over him. This was the moment he had feared yet hoped for, the chance to face his past. Suddenly, all the biases he had carried felt overwhelming. He was not just a doctor, he was a man with a history, a reputation to dismantle. He couldn't let her walk out with the same doubts that so many others had faced. Taking a hesitant step closer, he said, "I want to assure you, we're working to make this clinic a safe place for everyone. Your experience matters to us. Can we start fresh?" The mother's eyes widened, surprised by his sincerity. A flicker of hope appeared in her gaze, but hesitation still lingered. Would she trust him? Would he prove to her that he meant it? "Let us get started," he said. The words felt like a promise, a commitment to change and growth. As he began the exam, he could sense the community around him, the healing that was possible if they worked together. The walls were far from crumbling, but bricks were loosening, and that gave Dr. Waller hope. But what would it take to truly earn that trust? And back in the town, who else was hurting, waiting for someone to reach out and connect? The urgency of this responsibility weighed heavily on his heart. He realized this journey of transformation was just beginning, and the true test lay ahead. The exam room was quiet except for the soft rustling of the child's small hands gripping a stuffed animal, a worn-out bear with one ear missing. Dr. Waller tried to focus on the young mother, but his thoughts drifted to all the moments that led him to this day. He could still hear the whispers from the festival, echoes of judgment and condemnation. How did we get here? He wondered. But it was that very question that propelled him. Your son looks like a little fighter, he said lightly, hoping to ease the palpable tension in the room. She raised her head, startled, as if she hadn't expected kindness. Yeah, he is, she replied, a hint of pride breaking through her worry. Her voice was stronger now, more confident. He has to be. As he examined the child, Dr. Waller caught glimpses of the mother's cautious eyes in the reflection of the medical equipment. It was a reminder of the barriers that often existed between healthcare professionals and their patients. Trust was fragile, built on moments like this, yet so easily shattered. I know things haven't always been easy here, Dr. Waller began, sincerity filling his voice. But I want to change that. I want you to feel welcome, safe. We're implementing new training and workshops to make sure everyone feels respected. The young mother seemed to wrestle with his words. He couldn't blame her, he knew the clinic's history. It's not just you, Doc, it's everything. You can't change what people think overnight, she said, her brown eyes narrowing slightly. I just need to know it's real. I promise you, I won't let this be just talk, he replied firmly, a determination surging through him. He felt the weight of his responsibility pressing down, but perhaps for the first time, he felt ready to carry it. I want to hear your thoughts, every voice matters, he added, hoping to convey the honesty of his intention. Her hesitation lingered, but she studied him closely, reading his expression. For a moment, a delicate silence descended upon them. Then, her expression softened, just enough to break the tension. All right, I'll give you a shot, document. But I won't hold back if things don't change. The corners of Dr. Waller's mouth turned up in a genuine smile. That's all I ask. Thank you. When the checkup was done, the mother assured him her son was healthy, and they left the room with a little more trust hanging in the air. It was a small victory, but Dr. Waller felt encouraged. Later, as he reviewed the day's patient notes, he could feel Sarah's presence beside him. How did it go? She asked, leaning in, an eager sparkle in her eye. It went, okay. Baby steps, Dr. Waller admitted. But it matters, right? It wasn't just a checkup, it was a chance to start fixing something bigger. Exactly, Sarah replied, beaming. But this is just the beginning. There's still a lot of work to do. Dr. Waller nodded, grateful for her support. Yet questions stirred within him. Would the small victories lead to lasting change? Was he truly capable of influencing a culture that had persisted for too long? Before he could fully process the weight of his thoughts, his phone buzzed on the desk. He grabbed it, his heart racing as he saw a message from Marcus. "We need to talk. Important developments. Can you meet me?" That urgency from earlier returned, driving Dr. Waller to respond. "Absolutely. When and where?" As he sent the message, a flicker of anxiety settled in his gut. What could this mean? What awaited him beyond this moment? He inhaled deeply, realizing the path ahead was clouded with uncertainty but filled with possibility. Would this encounter push him further toward understanding and transformation? Or would it expose deeper cracks he hadn't seen? The true challenge was coming, and he had to be prepared to face it. Dr. Waller glanced at the clock as he waited for Marcus to arrive. Each tick echoed in his mind, amplifying the anticipation that blended with unease. What could be so urgent? He grabbed a pen, tapping it absently against a pile of patient files. Thoughts of his earlier conversation with the young mother circled in his mind, their fragile trust acting like a delicate thread connecting them in an environment rife with challenges. The clinic's fluorescent lights hummed overhead, and the sterile smell of antiseptic wafted in the air. It was the familiar setting where countless conversations had unfolded, some triumphant, but many fraught with tension and misunderstandings. Just as he brushed off a fleeting worry, the door swung open. Marcus stepped in, his expression serious. "Doc," he said hurriedly, "I'm glad you could meet on such short notice." "What is going on?" Dr. Waller asked, scanning Marcus's face for clues. There was urgency there, a fire that struck Dr. Waller as something to be taken seriously. "I just got back from a community meeting," Marcus began, leaning closer, lowering his voice as if the walls might overhear. "It's not good. We're getting complaints, serious allegations of discrimination about the clinic on social media. It's spreading fast. This could damage everything we're trying to build." Dr. Waller's stomach dropped. "But I thought we were making progress, small victories." "Progress is fragile," Marcus replied, his voice tinged with frustration. "The truth is, it only takes one moment to shatter trust. We need to address this before it blows up in our faces." Dr. Waller felt panic creeping in. "Who's involved? Do we know the specifics?" "A young mother similar to the one you just met. She spoke out about a past experience. Claims she was brushed off by a doctor here. It's hitting hard because it taps into deep-rooted fears and prejudices. If we don't act quickly, we could lose the very community we're trying to serve." He thought about his earlier conversation, the flickers of hope, the possibility that maybe, just maybe, they were turning a corner. "What do we do?" "We need a response, document. We have to publicly acknowledge the hurt and commit to taking real action. You have to be the face of that change. People need to see true leadership, and right now, it's unclear if anyone here really cares about that." Dr. Waller swallowed hard. The weight of Marcus's words settled in his chest like lead. It was one thing to discuss change in theory, but quite another to stand in front of a community ready to tear them down. "They need to know we're serious," Marcus added, watching Dr. Waller's reaction closely. "We can't afford to seem reactive. We need a plan and, more than that, we need to show our commitment through tangible actions." A sudden determination surged through Dr. Waller. "I can't shy away from this. I owe it to that mother, to all the voices that feel unheard." Marcus nodded, a flicker of hope and respect in his eyes. "Good. But we need to move fast. There's a meeting tomorrow night with community leaders. If you can put together a statement and a clear plan, we might just turn this around." "All right," Dr. Waller said, his adrenaline pumping. "Let us make this right. I can't lose what we've just started to build." As Marcus left the room, Dr. Waller felt the urgency coil around him. He had a chance to step up, to face the storm head-on and advocate for change. But would his efforts be enough? Could he regain that trust, and more importantly, could he heal the wounds that ran deep in the community he had sworn to protect? With renewed determination, he sat at his desk, drafting ideas, envisioning what tomorrow might bring. A mix of fear and anticipation raced through him as he thought of all those he wished to serve. What if one meeting could shape the future? What if it could lead to breakthroughs or even greater divides? The moment of truth felt just around the corner, and he needed to be ready. Dr. Waller's fingers flew across the keyboard, ideas pouring onto the screen, each word a fragile bridge to the community he'd come to respect and admire. He blinked against the fluorescent light, trying to focus. The buzz of the clinic outside faded as the gravity of the moment took hold. He needed to be careful, thoughtful. Words could heal, but they could also harm. Thoughts of the young mother haunted him. Her face lingered in his memory, the way vulnerability painted her features, a direct reflection of the trust she had almost placed in him. What would she think when she heard the allegations? Would she still believe in him? In the clinic? The stakes felt higher than ever. Time slipped away as he crafted sentences that felt both powerful and vulnerable. They had to resonate, to show empathy. He paused, rubbing his temples. Would apologies feel genuine if spoken in front of a crowd? Or would they echo empty, only deepening the rift? He stopped and leaned back in his chair, overwhelmed by the enormity of his task. It felt as if each word carried the weight of a community's healing. Anxiety pooled in his chest as he considered his next steps. This was more than a statement, this was a reckoning. He needed to listen, to understand. But how could he convey that without seeming defensive or dismissive? Shaking his head, he pushed away from the desk. No time for doubt, he muttered under his breath as he paced the small confines of his office, the walls suddenly feeling too tight. He needed insight. Real understanding. Grabbing his phone, he texted Marcus, "We need to speak with the young mother. Her voice matters. Let us find her." Moments later, Marcus responded with a suggestion to meet at the local coffee shop where many families gathered. It was a safe space, he denoted, one where dialogue could flow freely. They could build trust as they listened. Within the hour, Dr. Waller was in the car, anxiety fueling his drive. Each intersection brought him closer to an uncertain outcome. What if the young mother had already closed the door on them? What if his attempts to connect fell short? The coffee shop bustled with families chatting and laughing. The scent of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the sweetness of pastries that filled the air. He spotted Marcus at a corner table, his own figure rigid with tension. As they sat, Dr. Waller felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. "We have to approach this delicately," he said. "We can't afford to make it about us and our embarrassment. It has to focus on her experience." "Agreed," Marcus nodded, his brow furrowed. "But she has to be willing to talk. If she doesn't feel heard, nothing we say will make a difference." When the young mother arrived, Dr. Waller felt his heart race. She walked in hesitantly, scanning the room until her eyes found them. He could see the tension in her shoulders, a blend of wariness and hope. The corner of her mouth twisted in uncertainty as she approached. "Thank you for coming," Dr. Waller began, his voice steady but kind. "We know we've failed in the past, but I'm here to listen. More than anything, I want to understand your experience. Your voice matters." Her expression softened, if only slightly. "I didn't expect to hear that from a doctor." "I can't promise anything," she replied, her voice quiet but resolute. "Just sharing your story could change everything," Marcus encouraged gently. "We genuinely want to help." A beat of silence passed, heavy and filled with possibility. Dr. Waller sensed a crack forming in her guard. What would unfold in the next few moments? Could they really bridge this divide, or were they merely sifting through ashes? He took a deep breath, acutely aware that this was just the beginning. Would this conversation heal the wounds? Or would it only reveal deeper rifts? The weight of the room shifted, and the next words would matter more than any statement he could draft. Her gaze flickered between Dr. Waller and Marcus, measuring them, searching for sincerity. For a moment, the coffee shop buzz fell silent for her. All she could hear was the soft clinking of mugs, the distant laughter of children, and her own heartbeat, thudding loud in her ears. She began, hesitating. The weight of her experiences seemed almost too heavy to share. It's just hard to know who to trust anymore. Dr. Waller nodded, feeling her struggle. I understand. The past experience can leave scars. We're not asking you to trust us blindly. We're here to hear your story without judgment. She looked down for a moment, taking a deep breath. My son, he was sick, and I thought this clinic would be the place to help him. Her voice wavered, and he could see pain reflected in her eyes. But instead, I felt ignored and unseen. It was like I didn't belong. Marcus leaned forward, his expression earnest. That should never happen. Everyone deserves care and respect, especially in their most vulnerable moments. The young mother's eyes met his. I just wanted someone to listen. Instead, I felt like a problem to be solved, not a person with feelings. Dr. Waller's heart ached for her. He could almost see her spirit cracking under the weight of disappointment, and he felt a powerful urge to bridge that divide. The system often fails us, he admitted quietly. But change starts here, now. I want to understand how we can do better, for you and others like you. She studied him carefully, weighing his words. After a moment, she seemed to gather her thoughts. I left feeling like everything I said didn't matter. It's like I was just another statistic. I need assurance that my voice is heard. Your voice is more than a statistic, Dr. Waller insisted, his sincerity rising. It's critical to our growth. If we can't see you, we can't serve you. Her resolve seemed to shift, an ember of hope igniting. If you really mean that, then maybe it's worth sharing. I just want my son to feel like he matters when he walks through those doors. The warmth of connection sparked between them, and Dr. Waller could see the wall she had built beginning to crumble. It gave him a glimmer of hope. Tell us what we need to hear, Marcus urged softly, offering her the floor. We're here to listen. As she began to share her son's story, emotions flowed like a river breaking through a dam. Her words painted vivid pictures of fear and frustration, of a mother fighting to protect her child in a system that felt unforgiving. Every detail unfolded like layers, revealing not only her struggles but also the love that fueled her fight. Dr. Waller could see the barista behind the counter cast sidelong glances, the other patrons leaning in as their world faded away. All that mattered now was her voice. With every word she spoke, the urgency in the room shifted, transforming the coffee shop into a sanctuary of shared understanding. As she spoke of her hopes, struggles, and fears, something shifted. It was more than just sharing a story, it was about reclaiming a narrative. It was about holding people accountable, but it was also about healing. Dr. Waller felt that familiar lump in his throat as he realized this wasn't just about one mother or one clinic. This was a call to action, a ripple that could change the very fabric of their community, but as she finished her tale, a shadow crossed her face, as if she were afraid of what would come next. What if her story fell on deaf ears again? What if, despite everything, nothing changed? The air hung thick with anticipation. Dr. Waller realized they were on the tipping point of a profound change, but he also knew that this was merely the beginning. Would they rise to meet the challenge, or would they allow the moment to slip through their fingers? The questions fretted around them, and Dr. Waller sensed that the healing they hoped for was still very much in the balance. As the silence lingered, the young mother searched their faces, looking for any hint of assurance. There was an intensity etched into the lines on Dr. Waller's face, and she could see the raw emotion pooling in Marcus's eyes. The moment trembled with possibility. What now? She finally whispered, her voice thick with vulnerability. Dr. Waller leaned closer, his eyes unwavering. Now, we take what you've shared and turn it into something actionable. We need to create a space where patients like you don't just feel heard but truly are heard. This isn't just about us, though, Marcus added, nodding in agreement. This is a community issue. Your voice could inspire others to stand up and share their experiences too. The idea sparked something within her. Yet, doubt flickered across her features. But what if sharing my story only stirs up more pain? What if it opens old wounds that I'm not ready to face? Dr. Waller placed a gentle hand on the table in front of her. Bringing light to those wounds can often be the first step towards healing. We can provide a platform. We can support each other through the tough moments. You don't have to go through this alone. The warmth of his words wrapped around her like a comforting blanket. For the first time in what felt like ages, she considered that speaking out could foster change instead of just reliving the hurt. But still, anxiety churned in her gut. What if no one listens? She murmured, a tremor in her voice. What if nothing changes? The barista behind the counter, having been drawn into their conversation, chimed in softly. You might be surprised. Sometimes the smallest spark can ignite a much larger fire. Your story could be that spark. The young mother took a deep breath, her heart racing with the weight of possibility. She could feel the energy of the cafe around them, the buzzing patrons momentarily forgotten as they focused on her, their eyes attentive. Okay, she finally said, her voice a mix of fear and determination. I'll try. But I want to make sure it leads to real changes. Not just empty promises. Dr. Waller and Marcus exchanged a look of understanding. They were both encouraged but knew that intentions alone wouldn't suffice. They had to follow through. Together, we can develop a plan, Marcus assured her. We'll meet with the clinic's leadership, and we'll make sure your story is at the forefront of whatever changes come. With a tentative nod, the young mother allowed a flicker of hope to seep into her heart. They were willing to act. But how far would they be able to push the clinic to transform? As long as my son is at the center of it all, she added resolutely, her determination shining bright. Absolutely. His well-being is our priority too, Dr. Waller affirmed. As the conversation shifted toward actionable steps, the weight on her shoulders felt somewhat lighter. Her story was no longer just hers, it now had the potential to ripple out and touch others. Yet in the pit of her stomach, doubt lingered. Dr. Waller could sense it too. The road ahead would be filled with obstacles, but they had ignited a flame. But darkness loomed as an unexpected figure appeared at the edge of the cafe. A man in a white coat, glancing sideways at their gathering, his expression unreadable. Dr. Waller's heart sank. Let us focus on next steps, but we have to keep an eye out. Change is hardly ever welcomed at first. The young mother's gaze drifted, spotting the figure. She felt a chill crawl down her spine. Who was he? And what role would he play in this transformative journey? The questions flooded in, and uncertainty lingered. What might his presence mean for their fight? The figure lingered at the edge of the cafe, his presence commanding attention. The young mother's heart raced as Dr. Waller's eyes narrowed. The air around them thickened, and the hopeful brightness of their conversation dimmed slightly under the weight of this new development. Silence wrapped around their table, leaving words unspoken but felt. What do we do? She finally managed to ask, her voice barely above a whisper. Dr. Waller sat up a little straighter, his brow furrowed. We stay focused. Whoever that is, he doesn't get to dictate our narrative. Marcus leaned in, his expression shifting from concern to determination. You said you were ready to fight for change, right? Well, this could be a test. We can't let fear of one person derail what we've started. She nodded, pulling at the edges of her sweater, trying to gather her courage. But doubt clung to her, mingling with the tension that crackled in the air. Against the backdrop of the murmuring cafe, the man in the white coat stepped closer, his steps heavy and deliberate. There was an arrogance about him, the way he held himself like he was above them, like they didn't matter. Dr. Waller, I see you've gathered a little support group here, he said, a smirk on his lips. Dr. Waller straightened, his expression turning from concern to steely. We're discussing important matters. This isn't your business. The man chuckled, flicking his gaze toward the young mother, his eyes cold. Is that so? You believe that your story can change something? You really think people want to hear it? The young mother felt fire rise inside her, pushing back against the chill that had settled in her chest. This man's dismissal felt like a challenge. It's not about wanting to hear it. It's about needing to hear it, she shot back, surprising herself. His smirk faltered for a brief moment, replaced by a flicker of annoyance. Then, he shrugged as if dismissing her words before pointing an accusing finger at Dr. Waller. You're wasting your time. This clinic doesn't want the baggage of your community issues. Her breath hitched, but something in her snapped. No, it's you who has the problem, she said fiercely. It's people like you who shut down voices. I want to let you silence my story. Dr. Waller shot her a look of encouragement while Marcus clenched his jaw, clearly ready to back her up. But the man in the coat laughed, shaking his head. Passion doesn't equal change, dear. Let us see how far you really get. And with that, the man turned and walked away, leaving her feeling a hollow ache where her resolve had been just moments before. Don't let him get to you, Marcus said gently, squeezing her hand. What he said isn't true. You have the strength to push through this. I don't want to be simply a voice in the wind, she replied, her eyes glossing over. If I speak out and nothing changes, it's like screaming into the void. Dr. Waller leaned forward, his voice steady. That's why we're here. To make sure your voice resonates. Together, we'll turn the void into something strong. We can find strength in unity. Clarity fought to gain hold amidst her spiraling thoughts. The encounter had knocked her back, but she could feel sparks of courage bubbling beneath the surface. What if they truly could initiate the change? What if it was possible for her story to resonate and ignite that spark within others? Just as she began to entertain hope, a familiar ringing came from her pocket. She fished out her phone, her heart racing at the sight of her son's name flashing on the screen. I have to take this, she said, her voice steadying. Doctor Waller and Marcus nodded. She stood and walked away, her mind racing as she answered. Hey, baby, are you okay? But a loud crash interrupted her thoughts, pulling her focus down the line. The fear was palpable, filling the air with tension. What was that? She blurted, her heart pounding. Mom. Her son's voice trembled on the other end. What happened? I am scared. Her heart plummeted. Was it possible that the fight for change had suddenly morphed into a fight for her own son's safety? The walls of the cafe began to fade around her as she rushed towards the exit, her footsteps echoing the urgency of the moment. Was this truly the beginning of something transformative, or would it lead to devastation instead? The echoing chaos of the cafe faded into a blur. The young mother's heart raced, each pulse a reminder of her urgency. She dashed outside, her thoughts spiraling. Stay on the line, she urged, her voice fraught with fear. Tell me what's happening. Her son's voice trembled. There was a loud noise, and everyone is screaming. I don't know what to do. Panic clawed at her gut like a wild animal. This wasn't just a moment for advocacy, it was a moment for motherhood, and she felt the weight of both crashing upon her. Okay, listen to me, she responded, her mind racing to gather her thoughts. You need to find the nearest exit and get to safety. I'm coming right now. As she sprinted toward the direction of the sound, the world seemed to move in slow motion. The chaos of the cafe blended with a bitter reality: her son's safety was at stake. She turned back briefly, catching a glimpse of Dr. Waller and Marcus, their expressions caught between concern and determination. She met their gazes, and in that fleeting moment, they shared an unspoken understanding: they were all in this fight together. I'm here, she whispered to herself, her voice barely audible above the din. She reached the corner, where the commotion swelled. A crowd of people gathered, some standing in shock, others rushing away from the scene. Just ahead, she spotted a familiar face, a kind neighbor holding her son's hand. Relief surged through her, but it quickly faded as she saw the darkness of fear in his eyes. "There you are!" the neighbor exclaimed, embracing her son. "I was looking for you all over. Are you all right?" The little boy's face crumpled, tears streaming down. "I just wanted to find you, Mom." She knelt to him, holding him tightly, her heart breaking. "I'm here now. I've got you." But amidst that moment of relief, her mind returned to the fight for change. There was still so much to do, and the fear she had felt earlier wasn't just about their personal safety, it was a symbol of a larger fight. Dr. Waller arrived at her side, concern etched across his features. "What happened?" he asked quickly, scanning the crowd. "Just a loud noise." "Everyone panicked," she replied, holding her son close. Looking into Dr. Waller's eyes, she saw the weight of responsibility he felt, too. It wasn't about authority anymore, it was about compassion and community, a shared sense of humanity. Just then, the loud crackle of a mic cut through the chaos. An officer stepped forward, addressing the crowd. "Everyone, please remain calm. It appears to be an accidental noise, there's no threat to safety. Everyone is okay." There was a collective sigh, a wave of relief washing over the crowd, but the young mother felt her heart still pounding furiously. It wasn't just about what had happened in that moment, it was the realization that her son's fear mirrored the fear of so many. The fight against misunderstanding, neglect, and the very biases they were working to dismantle needed to continue. Dr. Waller turned to her, determination in his voice. "This can't be the end. We have to channel this energy into action. We need to address the stigma in our community right away together." She nodded, a newfound fire igniting within her. "Yes. We can't allow fear to dictate our narrative. I want to stand up, not just for myself but for all the families who feel unheard." Marcus stepped closer, a fire in his eyes. "Then let us organize a community forum, a place where people can voice their stories without fear. We need to bring everyone together, make real, lasting change." Dr. Waller's expression shifted, resolve firming in his tone. "I'll use our platform at the clinic to promote it. We can create the space for conversations that matter. Real change starts with listening and understanding." "Then let us do it," she affirmed, embracing her son. "Let this be our turning point. We can't be silenced any longer." As they stood together, united by a common goal, the weight of their previous encounters faded into the background. This was the moment they had all needed, a rebirth of purpose. They could transform fear into resilience, uncertainty into hope. In that shared commitment, a collective strength emerged. Beneath the remnants of chaos, new paths began to unfold. For the first time, she felt unwavering support, not just as a mother but as an integral part of a community. Together, they would face the storms, belonging to something bigger than themselves. As they turned back to the crowd, the sunlight broke through the clouds, illuminating their collective resolve. There was much work to do, a new chapter had begun. "Let us get to work," Dr. Waller shouted, energizing those around him. With renewed determination surging through her, the young mother nodded, ready to step forward, ready to inspire change. This is the moment when transformation ignites. Together, they would rise. Now is your time. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment how this ending touched you or made you feel. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.